And today we're going to discuss about the paradigm shift of mindset in order to survive in this post-coronavirus world. Ladies and gentlemen, the world we are currently living is getting much more volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and I like to call this VUCA. Volatile in a sense, there are a lot of issues in businesses in our day-to-day lives because of the COVID-19 coronavirus. Uncertain. We don't know what's coming in. When's the virus going to stop? When are we going to get the next vaccine? And when are we going to resume back to our day-to-day life? Complex because of the geopolitical nature of what's happening currently right now. I can't imagine the world we live in today when I was 10 years back. 10 years back, we have the United States trying to push into China and China banning items or softwares like Google and Yahoo. But now, moving fast forward, is the US that's taking turn in banning TikTok and many other Chinese tech giants from coming to the United States. The world has turned upside down. It is no longer about coronavirus. It's about politics. It's about who's going to be the next president, who's going to continue on to rule countries, and ambiguous. You see one thing happening, but we don't really know what's really happening at the back. It is more than meets the eye. And obviously, with the world of VUCA, it's actually being contributed to the increasingly connected world. We live in a world that have trillions and billions of gigabytes of data circling through. News you can get instantaneously on the spot, changing public perceptions and views, making it things more and more dynamic. With interesting characters as presidents and prime ministers, the world is getting much more VUCA. And to top that all off, the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic came to us in a surprise. It automatically jolted us from a path towards economic growth to the path towards recession all across the world. In this dynamic, uncertain world, the victors, the people who can survive this, are the ones who adopt a different mindset. A mindset that is adapt to the dynamics of the changing world. And I'm talking about the mindset of progress over perfection. Gone were the days where we can have 10, 20, 30-year plans, because plans do change very drastically. There are items where you can pivot your plans, but for 10, 20-year plans, that's just not simply possible. We're even talking about 5-year plans that may change quite often. Now, the mindset of progress over perfection is to simply just do it. I am not saying that we should not plan all you want, but do not wait for the plan to turn into perfection, because perfection are imagined and the real plans are in the execution. Let me illustrate to you on a better note. You can plan to buy a house. You can plan to buy a big car, a nice expensive car, by saving up for 4 or 5 years. But because of the dynamic changes of things that are happening to get your dream car, to get your dream house, may not be possible because of the changes of your work, because the changes of your terms of employment. All you need is just a car. Perhaps with all the cobbled money that you have at this point of time, buy a simple car, get things done, get your job, get your money, and thereon you can actually move on to bigger things. Progress over perfection is a mindset that it's okay to make some mistakes as long as we are moving and chugging along, gaining progress bit by bit into a perfection. Nothing wrong with perfection, ladies and gentlemen. Perfection is a destination. You may or may not get to that destination, but to have a dream is important. Perfection is not about starting work towards that perfection, but it's just simply starting work bit by bit, iterate your way into towards perfection. Now, I like to highlight you the key of the word that I'm trying to say here, which is iteration. The spirit, the mindset of progress over perfection talks about making small incremental changes rather than one big change in order to achieve perfection. So, what is the right amount of iteration? Achieving perfection requires several iterations for you to plan, and each of these iterations may take in a short span of period between a couple of days to a couple of weeks. But in the end of the day, in that iteration, there needs to be small targets and targets and ideas for you to get what you want. Let me explain this further with the concept of minimum viable product. Traditionally, if you want to build a transportation device from point A to point E, you think about having a car. You build the wheels, you build the platform, you build the engine, and you build the frame or the body with all the bells and whistles coming into it before you can actually start your journey from point A to point B. Think about building that car. It takes quite a lot of engineering man hours. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time to get you from point A to point B. But your destination, your push is not about getting a perfect car, but it's actually really to get from point A to point B. So perhaps rather than you yourself building a car, think about how could you get from point A to point B at the shortest amount of time given the period of, rather by than building a car, getting yourself to something simpler means. You could start building a skateboard instead, and that takes much shorter time from you to get from point A to point B. And, over time, you can always develop and build better skateboards, build better, put engines or put motors for you to travel faster and faster. Now, the time for you to take to build a car from point A to point B may take about a year or two. But having a skateboard, you can build it in a scratch within a couple of hours, and you can get from point A to point B right away. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the MVP concept, the concept of progress over perfection. Ladies and gentlemen, the mindset of progress over perfection may be difficult to actually gain at first. It takes a bit of grit, it takes a bit of counterintuitive thoughts to just simply push things through. In progress over perfection, we look into pace because progress realized is better than perfection imagined. If you really think progress over perfection is not for you, then it's okay. Perhaps another way of to think about this would be the concept of minimum viable product. The minimum viable product is a concept that allows you to actually get a working prototype to make things work. Whether it's your life, your work, or your career, the concept of minimum viable product is something that we can strive for. What is the minimum viable product? A minimum viable product is a concept that's similar to progress over perfection, but it requires you to build a working prototype to make things work. In the end of the day, it's all about getting ahead one step at a time, leaving your competitors behind who are thinking of perfection. The speed to market, being able to put your idea first, is of utmost importance, because ideas in the age of internet, in the age of things that are very dynamic, cannot be taken down.